Welcome back to our channel. Today we are going to talk about how to build dynamic sites in WordPress and Greenshift plugin. Also, I will show you how to customize inner pages of your online store, how to customize inner pages of your blog. Also, I will show you how to create custom archives, as well as carousels and post sliders. Moreover, I will show you how to get dynamic data, galleries, and how to create websites just like Airbnb. For this tutorial, you will need an access to WordPress and Greenshift and its query addition. We will also use ACF plugin, but you can also use any other plugin like meta fields or pods, for example, that allow you to create custom fields for your WordPress panel. So the first thing that we are going to do now is to customize the inner pages of the online store. For this reason, I have downloaded in advance a plugin which is called Easy Digital Downloads, and I have created a test product which is super simple. So I have a text here, an image, price, and that's all. Let's now check how this is going to look like on our website on default theme. And as you can see, it doesn't look very well because the image is too huge while the button is quite small. So most probably you can hardly sell such a product on your website. And you need to make it more attractive, more compact, and more interesting in order to sell it faster. So to do this, we will need to customize the output page of our product. There are two ways on how to do a customization of the template in WordPress. The first one is if you have a blog theme, you will have here an editor that allows you to customize your templates. If you're using a classic theme, you will not have such a link here, so you will need to install an addition which is called Query, and then you will have an additional option which is called Reusable Templates here. So, for example, if I want to rewrite inner pages, I will need to choose singular template. This one. And here I will select the type of the post. So for example, let's select bookings. Then you can either rewrite all the templates or just manually select the items that you want to rewrite. Also, you can choose by taxonomy, meaning that if the product belongs to this category, it will be rewritten. Now, everything that you add here in this area will be used in your template. If you, for example, want to rewrite rubric templates, you can select them here as well. But let's now go back and enable the blog theme. So the first thing that I'm going to do is to install and to activate the blog theme Greenshift because it has more options in comparison with the default one. Once I have done this, I will go to the editor. So here is the full site editor, but we don't need this at the moment. I have talked about how to use the website editor in our previous videos, so you can check it for more details. Now we are going to focus on how to create dynamic templates. So we click here on templates, and here we are searching for the output template of our product. However, it is missing here because the plugin Easy Digital Downloads doesn't create such a template by default, so we are going to use a single one. But we will create a new template by clicking on the plus here, and then we'll choose single item download. here, this one. Here we can choose between downloads for all items or download for a specific item. This means that you can create one template that will be used for all your items, and also you can create separate templates for the specific items if you want to create something unique, for example. But now in this case we are going to use for all items. This is an empty template, so we need to add a header and a footer. So I add a header. Here I choose the header that I have already created before, this one. The same way I will add a footer. So here I can see the preset templates, but here I need a footer as a template part. So I will enter here template, and here it is, footer. Now I have a header and a footer, and now I need to add the content itself. So this is the middle part of the page that we are going to customize now. And I'm going to add a row block since I have 2 columns here. So here I will need to click on Insert After, so that now the rows will be inserted after the header. And then I will need to add a row, the blue one, this one. And I will choose 2 columns like this. So since the first column is bigger than the second one, I will choose here this structure. And now I will add here padding on the top and on the bottom, so that it matches this one. Let's make it 50 for both. This should be enough. And here I will choose the background overlay. So by default, the cover is black, and here I will add an image as well. Okay, so here is our image. And then I will expand it so that it covers the whole block. Here there is also an option Enable Quick Lazy Load. But since our background is on the first screen, there is no need to use this option. You can use this option if the background is not on the first screen, and in order to get to this block, the users need to scroll the page. So let's now check if the template is working. Here is the page of our product, and as we can see, what we have created in the editor is displayed here as well. So let's now start adding dynamic fields. So what is the difference between the dynamic blocks and the classic ones? The classic blocks are when you, for example, add a text or a header. So for example, here I will change the text color to white from here, like this. And for the links as well. So we add this text, save it, and it will be always the same, meaning that it doesn't matter what data will you have in the product, this text will be always a static one. So this is a static block. In Greenshift plugin there are also dynamic blocks as well as hybrid blocks. This means that the heading block can be hybrid as well. To do it like this, here you need to enable dynamic text value, and here we can choose between different dynamic values. For example, let's click on site data, this one. And then we will select current year. So as you can see, the current year has been added here, but you can also add additional text if you wish. So the first part is static. Then we have a dynamic one. And here we have again a static part. So we get a hybrid block that contains of static and dynamic parts. Apart from hybrid blocks, we have also 100% dynamic blocks. Usually they start by dynamic, and here we select dynamic post title, this one. When should we use dynamic and when hybrid blocks? So in most cases, it's better to use dynamic blocks, but we also have a lot of hybrid blocks that can be used as well. So basically, they work the same way. The difference is that in hybrid blocks, a static part is being replaced by a dynamic one. When it comes to 100% dynamic blocks, the whole part is dynamic and it will be different in different contexts. So let's now talk about what does it mean context, because it is very important to know how the dynamic blocks work. Each page in WordPress in the admin panel has its own context. Sometimes the context can be empty. Our page is a template editing page, so basically it is an empty context because the template is virtual and it doesn't have its own context. So in a dynamic title block, this one, if this block doesn't find the contexts of the posts will be used. So if we click here on posts, we will see the latest post, which is test video. But also you can manually choose a context. So here we have select post type for preview and we will select download. Now the preview will display the latest position of the post type that we have selected. So it will display the last product, and this is necessary only for the preview, only for this part. And this is only needed for visibility in order for you to see how your title looks like. So let's now remove this block because we don't need it. We will keep only the dynamic block. Also, we will disable link to page since we don't need it. And here we will select a heading tag H1. Then in typography for title, we will enable use fluid typography, this one. And here we'll choose this one, big. Also, we'll add some margin, like this. And now we'll add the content of the page. There is a block which is called post content, so here it is. This is a standard block. It doesn't have so many options and settings, but by the way, if you're interested and if you want, you can convert all the blocks to container wrapper from here. And as you can see, here there are a lot of settings available. So let's now check how it looks like. So as we can see, here we have a title and a content. In Easy Digital Download plugin, there is one feature that at the moment there are no any specific blocks for, let's say, buttons. So it adds a button and a price directly to the content block. This means that what I add here will be displayed here and a button with the price. However, I want our button content to be entered in the right column, and some additional text to be entered in the left column. And in order to add an additional text, there are two ways on how to do this. So the first one, you can add it here in excerpt. It is available for any posts or products. Now we need to change the template itself, so we will move our content text into the right column, like this. And here we will use a block which is called metagetter. So let's add it. Metagetter is an universal block that allows to get various data, both with posts and author data, for example, or website data. But in this case, I am going to use post data. And here there is a button, excerpt. So I click on it, and then I will select post type for preview, download, this one. And as you can see here, I get the data of our panel that is now here. I will also change here the typography. So in this case, I'll just change the cover and I'll make it a bit smaller. So let's first change the cover. And now I will make it smaller, like this. Then I click on Save. And this is what we get. Now it looks much better. But as I told you before, there is also another option on how to add additional text and other data. So we need to install an additional plugin called Advanced Custom Fields. I have the premium version, but this block is also available free of charge. After installing the plugin, here you will have a new panel. Here we click on Add New Field Group. We'll title it Text. Then we'll add a new field type. So let's choose Editor, this one. And then in field label, we'll enter text content. We'll enter the same for field name. And here we'll choose our post type. It should be download, like this. And then we save the changes. And now when we add a content to our product, we have here an additional field, and here we can add a text. Now I will just copy this one here. Okay, so now we can click on Update to save the changes. And in order to get the field that we have just created, we will first remove our previous block, and then we will add it once again. So we click on the plus and we add metagetter. And this time we will use custom field. Here in post type for preview, we will select download. Once you select the context, you can click here on this icon. And then we can select text content. This one. And here we can make sure that we have selected the correct one. So as you can see, the field name here matches the text content here. And the only thing that we also need to add is a conversion. So by default, it is a plain format, as you can see here. But since our block is an editor, meaning that it has an additional formatting, as you can see here, so in order for this one to be displayed correctly, you need to select here the same formatting as the formatting of your product. So here we select this one, formatting. So now we save the changes. And this is how it looks. Now we'll add formatting to the right column and a mirror effect. It's very simple to apply it. We just need to transform to container, and then we'll add a value of 40 for padding, like this. Then we'll select a border type, and I will change the color. Okay, we have changed the color, and now I will also add a value of 10 for radius, like this. Then we go to overlay effects, and we need to apply translucent background. Like this. And then we go to the filters and we enter 16 for blur, like this. And finally, we need to click on apply to layer behind. So this is what we get. Now we save the changes. And this is how it looks on the website. As I told you before, in the Easy Digital Download plugin, there is not a separate block for a button, and that's why I will just copy the style of this button, and then I will add it to the custom styles. So I will copy the style from here. And I need to paste it here in Advanced Options in Custom CSS. I save the changes, and this is what I get. So here we have a custom template for our product. Let's now add some more dynamic blocks. So first we will add the output of our category. So here is our product, and we will add a category. So we enter here video apps, and then we will click on add new download category. Then we update, and now we will go back to the editor, and in order to get a category of our product, we can use a category block. Okay, here it is. However, this block is quite simple and there are not so many options here, so let's use another block which is called metagetter. This one. As I told you before, this block is quite universal and it's used for receiving various data, and here we will use taxonomy instead of custom field. Here I will select download for post type for preview, and then I will click on taxonomy link because we want our category to be a link, and here we will select download categories. This one. Alright, but before clicking on save, I will change a bit the size from here. Okay, now it's better, and then I will add some design. We can also add an icon. So let's choose an icon from here. For example, let's choose this one. Now I will change a bit the color. And finally, I will save the changes. Let's see how it's going to look like on our website. And here is the result. Okay, so let's now add one more field. This will be a button that will lead to demo page. So first we need to add a field. Let's call it demo URL, like this. And here we will select URL for field type. This one. Then we will add values. So, for example, we'll add here a link for Google. Then we will click on Update. And then we will use a button block in the editor. So here we will add a button. Okay, here it is. This is also one of the hybrid blocks because it has an option which is called Enable Dynamic URL. Okay, so once we enable it, we can click here on Custom Meta, this one, and then we will select Download for post type. In Type field, we will select Demo URL, this one, and I think that's all. So let's now save the changes. And let's check the website. Okay, here is the result. As we can see, it works well, so everything is okay. However, here we need to pay attention to the fact that, for example, not in all the products we have a demo link. If we have a demo link, then we need to show it. But if there is not a demo link, then there is no need to show it. And in order to organize this, we need a specific block which is called visibility. So now we will just copy the type field here. Then we will click on this button and we will transform to visibility block, this one. Now we can add content display conditions of our block, and this will be custom meta query. This one. And here, as you can see, there are several values, and we will select exist, this one. Finally, we will add a custom field key. So now, if we have this field in our post, then the button will be displayed. But if this field is empty, then the button will not be displayed. So let's now check that. We'll remove the link from here, then click on Update. And as you can see, the button has disappeared. But once we add the link, okay, we have added back the link. We click on Update. And now, as you can see, here is the button. Visibility block is quite universal. Here you can not only choose by custom fields, but by other parameters also, such as cookie or mobile view, for example. There is also an option for the content to be displayed by date or, for example, by time period. There are also user meta and by post type and so on. Also, here you can add multiple conditions. This means that we get such a chain of conditions. So, for example, if you want to display only in specific category and only if there is a specific key. Also, there is an interesting option here. So if you select equal, this one, then you can also use arrange. So for example, if you have a price here, and if you enter here arrange, like this, then your field will be displayed only then when the price of the product is between 1 and 100. Also, if you don't want the block to be displayed, you can click on Do not show content for selected, this option. Block visibility works like a container, meaning that you can add inside not only one block, but also sections or even the whole template. So, for example, if I click on our block, I can easily transform it to a visibility block from here and add some additional options. We are also planning to add this option directly into the blocks. And another option that we are going to talk about now is dynamic post image, this one. It gets your image values for a product or post. Here is our image. And we need to click here on download for post type for preview. Here you can choose already preset size or create your custom size. And also you can choose here a scale. For example, cover, like this. Okay, so let's now save the changes. By the way, the image of your post can be not only as a picture, but also as a background. Since in all blocks there is an option background, and you can also make it dynamic. So you just need to click here on this icon, then you need to select featured image. Here you need to select current latest and download for post type. And as you can see, the image is now set as a background. So let's now delete this image. And now let's darken the background. So there are two options on how to do this. You can either use filters from here. So for example, I will lower the brightness and I will blur it a bit. But as you can see, when I blur it, the whole block is getting blurred, which doesn't suit us. So specifically for these purposes, there is an option to add background overlay. Here it is. Background overlay differs from the usual background in that it adds an additional layer over the background. And also it allows to use filters, but not for the whole block, but only for the overlay. So for example, if I blur it a bit, and then if I enable apply to layer behind, as you can see, it applies to the background only and the content is not affected. if you wish, you can also add some animations. We have already talked about how to do this in our previous videos. And of course, all these animations can be used for dynamic blocks. So for example, I will mark all our blocks. I can do this from here as well. So let me mark them like this. And then I will transform to animation container. Here I will select stagger, this one. And let's add some additional effects as well. Okay, so this is how it works. So let's save the changes. But you need to be very careful here because sometimes an animation can just be inappropriate because it adds site loading time, and you should just experiment and try different options. We have now talked about the basic dynamic blocks, but actually there are much more, and you can find more information about other dynamic fields on our website. We update them regularly, so you can just check. Here they're described in details. There are many videos as well for different options. So for example, you can add such animation effects and parallax for your background. So let's now move to the next block that you're going to use for sure, and this block is called Query Loop Builder. It allows you to create custom archives, various collections of your posts, and so on. By default, it has such a design. And let's now go through the options. So the first option is data query. You can choose filters that will be applied to your post. So by default, here is shown the last post, but also you can choose a specific, for example, category or tag, author, and so on. Also, you can add conditions at the same time. So if you want the user's post to be displayed, you need to select custom post type for data query. And for example, I will select download for post type. So as you can see, here is our product, but since I have one product only, I will select post for post type. And here there are different options. So for example, you can choose manual select and order. But we are going to talk about the rest of the options later in this video. Let's now check the other tabs. So in data settings, there are sorting. Then we have fetch count, offset, as well as pagination type. Here you can even select infinite scroll. Filter settings add an additional panel that allows the users to sort your posts according to certain criteria. So let me now show you how it works. The first thing that I'm going to do is to click on Enable panel here, and then I will enter filter posts. Like this, and then I can add some filters. So by default, the first one is always show all, so that it's easy for the user to go back to all the posts. And as you can see, it is displayed here. Then I will add some custom filters. So for example, I will add sort by comments count. And I will enter most popular for label. Then I will also add sort by meta field, and if your plugin saves some numerical values, you can use this sorting. So for example, I will use here meta field in which the number of views is sorted. And I will enter rehab views for type key for meta. And And I will also add a label, like this. You can also set a taxonomy flag, so I will select categories, the first one, and here I will enter sort by category, like this. So it will be displayed on the right side, while the rest of the filters will be shown on the left side. Of course, if you wish, you can also add some design for the panel, some colors, and so on. But let's now check how it works. Okay, so as you can see, everything works well. The next option is grid settings. Here, you simply adjust the number of columns that are available for your posts table. You can do this from here, and also you can apply some grid gap, or you can enter it manually like this. Here there is another interesting option which is called Add Grid Custom Range. So if you click on it, here you see the conditions and the options behind it. Regarding the conditions, you need to choose a serial number of what you want to change. For example, let's say that this will be the first post. So here I will enter 1. And then here I will choose how the post is going to be displayed. So for example, to full width or full height. For instance, I will enter here 3. Or better 2. And as you can see, it is now expanded and it takes the place of 2 posts. Also here you can set a custom range, or if you want, you can also add a heading size here. Another example when these options can be very useful, so you can try different options from here and create your own interesting templates for your product grid and also configure them separately for each resolution. By the way, in the plugin, you can find a big library with different templates and other sections. There is also a query library where we can add already set presets. So for example, you can find the preset that I show in this video here in patterns. You can click on it and it will be added to your page. But let's now go back to our table. Okay, so let's now just remove the query loop builder, like this. So the next options are more design related. There is a background, border, there is also item shadow, and so on. But pay attention that these options don't work for the whole block, but for each section separately. So for example, if I add a shadow, it will be applied to each section separately, which is very convenient. Also, there is an option which is called Item CSS Transform, and you can use it for different hover effects. I will now show you how this works. So first you click on hover, and then you need to add some scale. Also, you can add some creative bezier, like this. And this is how it works. And you can try different options to check how each of them work. Okay, so now I will show you how to edit the values of all these items. So here there is an icon which is called Edit Inner Layout. We click on it and now we go to Edit Context. The difference between Edit Context and the general one is that here we can see all our items the way that they will be displayed on the website, while here we can edit a specific item only. This item is from the last post, so if you want to get some data and to check how it's going to look like, you need to make sure that your recent post contains all the necessary data that you want to get. So now you will probably ask how to edit such an item. So basically here are used the same blocks as the ones that can be used on inner pages. The whole item is actually like an inner page that you can edit. If you click here, you can check what it contains from. So as you can see, the same blocks as for inner pages are used here as well. Here we have a dynamic post image, meta getter, that can be used to get the categories of your custom fields, and attribute, author data, post data, and so on. Also, here you can use any design blocks, like for example, row or different containers. You are not limited here. Just think about the item as a separate inner page that you can fully edit. Also, you can add animations here. I will just now remove the underscore because I don't like it. So to do this, we need to go to typography, this one, and then here in advanced typography options, you can see text decoration. So we just need to click on remove, this one. Another useful option that most probably you're going to use is in dynamic post title. So there is an option clump, and it allows to limit the number of lines in the title. So for example, if your title is too long but you want it to be more compact, then you can enable this option and choose the line clump. Apart from using here blocks from Greenshift, you can also use blocks from WordPress core. So for example, if I add here a post title, so let me add it from here, post title, this one, then I click on done, and this is how it looks. So I would recommend you to check all the available blocks here. Here you can also see Greenshift edition, and you can try different options. I will now show you some other interesting blocks that you can use in the grid. And also dynamic blocks. They are displayed here in the theme tab. So for example, the block avatar is quite useful, this one, because it shows the avatar of user's post. So basically, all the blocks from WordPress are also available in the universal block meta-getter, in which you can also select between comment count, publish date, post data, and so on. That's why I'm saying that this block is very universal and you can use it for different purposes. But let's now add one more block here. So the block which we are going to add is called Wishlist. So we click on the plus, and here is wishlist. And let's now go through its options. So for example, I don't want it to look like a button with a text. I just want it to look like an icon. So here I just need to click on heart or even bookmark like this. Then I will remove the text like this. Then I will disable counter value. Also, I can change the color and the size. So let me now change this. Okay. And now I will move the icon so that it will be displayed on the right top corner. To do this, I need to go to Advanced Options. And here I will set an absolute position. Actually, it looks good here too, but if you want it to be displayed over the image, then you need to move it like this. And then you need to set Z-index. So you go to Advanced Options, and here we will enter, for example, 9. And here is the result. Also, I will remove the margin on the right. And then I will add a background color. I will also add some padding here in block spacing. Okay, and then I will add a radius. Let me change a bit the padding. I think 8 will be better, like this. And this is the final result. I think it looks quite good. So the wishlist block has 3 types. The first one is button. And when clicking on it, the item will be added to the wishlist. Then the second one is counter. It shows the number of items that have been added by the user. I will now show you how it looks like. This is how it looks, and usually it is used in the header, and yes, it counts how many items have been added to the wish list. And the last one is list. So for this one, you need to create a page. So we click on Add New. And here we need to add a wishlist block. This one. And this time we will click on the list and it will render our product wishlist. So now we click on Update. And then we will copy the link. This one. Now we can add the link of the wishlist to the header. So we go to the editor and here you can add a link to the page as a menu item or, for example, as a wishlist counter. So we'll add here a wish list. Then we'll select counter for a type and bookmark for icon type, like this. Then we will paste here the link that we have copied before. And also we will change the color. So if you want the counter to be displayed next to the menu, you just need to unite it to one group together with the menu. In order to do this, you just need to click here on group, this icon, and now it is united with the menu. Finally, you can arrange the row horizontally, and then you just need to move it like this. We save the changes, and this is the result. So now the user can see how many items were added to the wish list, and if you click on the button, you can see the item itself. Also, you can create your own customized design for your wishlist page. And for example, you can copy the design that you have created for item grid. To do this, you just need to click here on copy block. Now we go to our wishlist page and click on edit page. Then we will remove the block. And I will just paste by clicking on Ctrl+V. Here it is. After that, here in Query Loop Builder, we will select Wishlist Query, the last one, and here is the result. Another interesting option for the Query Builder is the possibility to transform it to a slider. So to do this, you just need to click on this icon and then click on Transform to Slider. And this is how it looks. So all the options are available for the slider. You can choose the number of items per row and apply different effects. So basically you customize it the way you want. You're not limited at all. Let me now show you one more example. So I will go to Airbnb website, and as we can see here, we have a slider directly applied to each item. So I will now show you how to create this one. So the first thing that you need to do is to add a gallery to our products. In ACF plugin, there is such an option. There is a field which is called Gallery, and we will now add it. So let's find it. Here it is. And then we will add a field label. And let's now add a gallery to our product. So here we'll select several images, and then we will click on select, like this. And finally we click on update. Now we will create a custom product for our archives. So let's now go to our product. Then we click on video apps. And this is it. But let's now create a custom archive and change the image here so that it will be displayed as a gallery. To do this, we just go to the website editor. Then we need to go to the templates and to create a category for our products. So we will click on Add New. then we'll select download category. Okay, so here it is. And once we click on it, we can choose between all download categories for all items and download category for a specific item. So we select this one. And we go to the edit category page. If you check the blocks, by default is used query loop. This block is very similar to query builder, but it works a bit differently. So you can use it and add blocks directly to the items here, or you can remove it and use query builder instead. I will now show you how to do this. So we'll add a query loop builder here. Here it is. So here you see the latest posts, but I need the last products. So here I will select auto detect archive data, this one. And also I will need to select here post type. So I will select download, this one. This option allows us to automatically determine archive type data and to display this data on our page. So for example, if I select here custom post type and taxonomy, we will have the same post displayed. So in order for the block to work correctly on templates, categories, tags, and so on, you should select auto detect archive data. This one. So let's now edit it. First, we are going to remove the meta getter and we'll add a dynamic gallery. This one. Then we will select download for post type for preview, and here we will select the field where we saved our gallery. So we click here on product gallery, and this is how they look now. However, we can fix this and we go to image settings and we will enter 54 height, like this. And this is how it looks now. And in order for the gallery to be displayed as a slider, we will remove the image first and then we will move our gallery above the text. Okay, so first we will remove the image. And now what we are going to do is to select one for grid columns here. And then we will increase the height to 200. Like this. And this is how they look now. Here on the right side there is a specific option which is called Add Also Post Thumbnail. So I will enable it as well. So here is our gallery. And now I just need to transform the gallery to a slider. To do this, there is a specific option which is called Convert to Slider. And finally, we need to set the slider itself. So first, I will disable navigation bullets here. And then I will edit the arrows. So I will add a background like this, Then I will make it smaller. Also, I will make smaller the space around. And then I will add border radius. Let's say, for example, 50. Alright, so now I think it looks much better. So I click on Save the Changes. And this is how it looks on the website. Another useful function is a container link. So for example, if you have a slider here, and if you want, when you click on the slider and on the block in general, to make a transition to the product itself, what you need to do is just to click here on Edit, and then you click on Query Loop Builder, and here you will find an option, Container Link. So we enable Link Whole Container, then we save the changes, and as you can see, the slider is working on the website, and if you click on the slider, you go directly to the product. So this option is very convenient to use. Apart from this, in Gallery block, there is an option to enable Lightbox. So we click on Gallery block, and here we have an image Lightbox. So we enable it, and here, when we click on the gallery, we get a lightbox with the images of the gallery, and the user can go through them in full size. Let's move to the next part of the video. We will look at more advanced types that you can get in your posts. In this video, we are not going to look at how to create order forms and booking sites, but if you're interested in this topic, please write in the comments and I will make a video about this. Here we will talk about how to get additional types of information and how to create different specifications, how to get data of post author data, how to create gallery, how to create various interactive elements as attached panels and other interesting elements, and other post types. So for this tutorial, I will also add a separate post type, and I will use a plugin which is called Custom Post Type UI. It allows you to create a custom post types and taxonomy. So I will install it, and then I will activate it. Now I will add post type, and let's call it, for example, booking. And here it is important to enable this option. You can leave the rest by default. The only thing that we will enable is custom fields, because we will add our custom post types here. And then we just click on Add Post Type. Now we will add taxonomy. So taxonomy is a way of grouping posts together based on a select number of relationships, and by default, a standard post will have two taxonomy types, which are called categories and tags. So we enter here booking category, and in plural label as well. And here in attached to post type, we will tick bookings. The rest we will leave by default. And then we just click on Add Taxonomy. Okay, so here we need to fill in this field as well. Alright, that's all. Okay, so now when we have a new taxonomy and a new post type, we can create separate fields and templates for them. So to do this, we go back to ACF plugin and we will create a new fields group. So we click on Add New, and let's call it, for example, Booking Main Fields. And first we will select field type. So we select Gallery, this one. And this is the place where we will save the images for our gallery. Next, we will enter gallery in field label and field name. And here in settings, we can see that we can attach fields group to a specific post type. So here it is. So we save the changes. And let's check. Okay, so everything is correct. And now we can go to bookings and we click on Add New. Now we'll add our first product. So we'll add some test data. A content. And we'll also add an image. So let's choose an image. For example, this one. And then we'll select images for the gallery. Also, we'll add a new booking category. And then we click on Publish. Okay, so now we have the data here and we can start creating our template. So we go back to Appearance and we click on Editor. Then we click on Templates, and now we need to create a template for our booking product. So by default there is not such template, so we need to create it. We click on the plus and here we can find single item booking. So here we have a template that is usually used for posts, but we don't need here the post title area, so we will remove it. Also, we will remove the group and tags as well. We can keep the comments area, and let's now start editing. So we save the changes. And first we will start with this area and the title. So let's remove this group too. And we'll add a row block here. This one, the blue one. Okay, so the first part will be on full width. We will not have columns for the title, so we will select the first structure, this one. And here we'll add post title. So you can use here both post title and dynamic post title. Then we will select post type for preview booking. We will disable link to page. And then we will select heading tag H1, this one. Then we will make the font smaller. Like this. Okay, so we click on Save. Now we'll add categories and saving buttons. So to do this, we'll use a block which is called flexbox. So we'll add a flexbox here. And we'll add here a meta getter. This one. Next, we'll select taxonomy. For post type, we'll select booking, and then we'll select taxonomy link. This one. Okay, then we'll click on this icon and we'll select booking categories. You can also manually put here your taxonomy key, but I think this way is much easier. So let's now change the size to 16. We can do this from here. And we'll add some cover. Okay, so here we can add some margin on the bottom. Okay, and now we'll add one more block which is called wishlist. This one. So we add a block. Here it is. So in order to move it to the right side, we have an option which is called justify content. It is here on the right side. And we'll select between, this one. And now all the blocks that will be added will be displayed along the edges. So we'll make the size smaller as well. We can do this from here. And also the size of the icon should be a bit smaller. Okay, now we'll save this and let's check if everything is displayed correctly. So as we can see, everything looks great. We will just need to remove this counter, and we can do this by clicking on disable counter value, this one. Alright, so now we'll create the area with the images. So we'll use a row block here as well. This one, the blue one, but this time we'll select 2 columns. So in the first one, we'll put our image, while in the second one, the gallery. So for the image, we'll use dynamic post image. Then we'll select post type booking. And we'll make the height static. So we click here on custom and we'll enter, let's say 500, like this. And here for scale, we'll click on cover. So now the image will adjust to our size. Let's see. Okay, so probably the height should be a bit smaller. So let's make it 450. like this. And in the second column, we'll add a dynamic gallery, this one. And then we'll apply the same settings as for the image. So here we click on this icon and we'll select gallery. Alright, so by default here we have 4 columns, but we will change it to 2. And then we will adjust the gallery so it will match the image. So if the image is 450, here we will need twice per 225 and a gap between the images. Okay, so let's make it 220 and the gap between the images should be 10 both for the column gap and the row gap. So let's change it to 10 and here as well. Okay, so since we need here 4 images only, we will limit the items to 4. So we click here on 4. And now we need to make smaller this gap because it's too big. So to do this, we just need to add the correct margin. So since we have here 10, we will divide 10 by 2, and this means that it should be twice per 5. Like this. So now all the gaps between the images are equal to 10 pixels. And let's now check how it looks on the website. As you can see, everything looks very good. So the next thing that we will need to add is this interesting interactive option, show all photos. So to do this, there is a specific block which is called sliding panel. Let's add it now. Here it is. We'll add a text here. And now we'll change the icon. I will skip the part where I have formatted this button because there is nothing special here. You can format the button as any other block, and then we'll move further. Now we need to move the position of the button so that it will be displayed over the gallery. And to do this, we need to go to Advanced Options and then Position. Or you can simply click here on Enable Position Drag, and then you can move it wherever you want. And then we click on Save Current Position. Here. Now we need to make it so that when clicking on this button, the whole gallery is displayed. So here in the options, we have position and 4 options for it. So we'll select pop-up, this one. Then we will enable place pop-up on top of page. Otherwise, the pop-up will be displayed in the center, and if you have a lot of content, it will not look great. So let's enable it. By the way, if you have some kind of incomprehensible overlay of various blocks on the site itself, when you turn on the pop-up, you can enable this option as well. And also, you can add an index of panel. But in this case, I'm not going to do this because there is no need. Then we will need to make the pop-up on full width. We can keep the height because it will be expanded depending on the number of images. And now let's open the pop-up. So here we will need to add the gallery. To do this, we will add a dynamic gallery, this one, and we will select booking for post type. Here we will select gallery as well. Then we will change the grid columns to 1. And in image settings, we will make the height for each image 500. Like this. And here we will click on scale. Okay, so now we will save the changes. And let's now see the result. So we click on show all photos and here is our gallery. But unfortunately we don't see the button here. So the problem is that by default the pop-up has a specific width, and if we make the width smaller we will be able to see the button. So let's make it a bit smaller. So as I told you before, when the width of the pop-up is on full width, there is no space for the button. So in this case, we need to create a custom button for closing the pop-up. So we click on Disable Close button, and we need to copy the class. So now we add an additional button in the pop-up. This one, button. We will remove the label, and then we will add an icon. So for example, let's select this one. Then we will change the color. Okay, and now let's enter 0 for margin. Like this. Also, we will need to remove the background. Here. And then we'll enter 0 for the padding as well. So here is our button, but let's now increase its size a bit. Like this. And now we'll need to paste the class that we have copied before. So we copied it from here. Now we go to Advanced Options. And here in Additional Class, we will paste it. Then we will click on Save. And let's now see how it works. I will just set full width. Just a second. So I'll set here 100. Okay. And here is the result. Alright, so we are done with this area, and now we need to add the content part. So for the content part, I will use also row block. This one. Then I'll select 2 columns again, and I will choose this structure. So in this video, I'm not going to show you how to create booking form. So please write in the comments if you wish to know how to do this, and I will create a separate video about this topic. In this case, I'll just add like an image of the booking form here, like this. Alright, so now in order to make this column to be attached like this while scrolling, we need to click on it. Then we need to go to Advanced Options and select Sticky Position, this one. Also, we need to add a margin on the top, so let's enter 30, for example. Okay, and now we need to move the content part to the left column. Like this. And save the changes. To make it look better, I have also changed the header to a lighter style. I have talked about how to edit the header in our previous video, so you can check it if you want. Now let's move further. So let's now add here an author block as on Airbnb website. To do this, we need to add a flex box. Then we'll add some margin on the bottom. Like this, and also some padding. Then we'll add a border on the bottom. And then we'll change the color of this border. So we can also use a hybrid block here because a part of the text is static and a part of it is dynamic. So basically in such cases we need to use a hybrid blocks. Then we'll add an advanced text. This one. Then we will title it. And here we'll enable dynamic text value. Then we'll select author data and current latest for source. The post type will be booking, and we'll click on display name. Let's also change a bit the size of the text. Like this. Okay, and now we will need to add an avatar. So we add a block avatar. We will make smaller the image size. Like this. And then we'll set 100 for radius. And again, we'll select between for justified content. Maybe the image should be a bit smaller, so let's smaller its size. Okay. And let's change a bit the padding, like this. Also, as we can see on the website, here there is some data about the author, and usually this data is saved into meta fields for the user. And you need to ask the author of the plugin what data is saved into meta fields in order to get the key of this meta field. And you can get its value using metagetter block. Now I have added this text just as an example. It's a biographical info about the author. As you can see here, there are like two groups of data. So here is the first one, and on the right side, the second one. So in order to group the fields, we will mark this block and then we will transform it to container, like this. Then we will add the metagetter block. We will select author data. Then we will select post type booking. And then we will click on author meta. Then we will enter the key, which is description. So here we got the data of the description field. Let's just make it a bit smaller and let's change the color as well. Okay, so now we save the changes and we are done with this part. Let's move forward to the next part. So let's now create a navigation like this one. There are many ways of how to do such a navigation. So for example, there is a block which is called page navigation. But we will now create a custom navigation. And in order to do it, we will use a flexbox again. So let's add a flexbox block. And then we'll add a button. Now let's make this button to look like a link. So we go to background and opacity, and we'll make the background transparent. Like this. And then in typography, we'll add a color of the link. We will make several sections here. This will be our first section, which will be called Overview. And then we'll add a link to it. So first we need to enter this symbol. And then we'll enter Overview. And let's also enable Smooth Scroll to Anchor. Alright. But what does it mean, this part? So when you enter such a symbol at the beginning, this means that this link will lead to the same page. So now you will need to create a section with the key Overview, and when clicking on this link, the scroll will lead automatically to this section. So in order to add the key, we can add a container. The first one, and then we will move the content block to this container. Like this. We will disable this option, Inner Blocks Use Content With. Okay, then we will go to Advanced Options, and here you will find Anchor, and we will need to enter the key here. We will add some formatting here in order to visually separate our sections. Okay, we'll also add some formatting to the container with the buttons. Let's add some padding. Okay, now it looks much better, and we will now duplicate this container. Here we will remove the post content and we will add advanced heading instead. So let's call the second section specification. And now we'll adjust a bit its size. Alright. And the third section will be review. We'll add a key to each section, and we can do this in Anchor in advanced options. Okay, after that we'll duplicate the buttons and we'll just rename them so that they match the sections. Also, don't forget to change the button link according to the section. And we will apply the same for the third section. Now we can make our panel sticky so that it will be always visible even while scrolling. So to do this, we need first to add a background. And then we'll add a sticky position, like this. Also, we need to add z-index in order so that this panel overlaps the panels that lie below. And finally, we can add some spacing for the button. Okay, so now I will copy the style of the first button and paste it for the second and the third one so that the same changes will be applied to them too. Okay, so let's now save the changes and see how it looks on the website. So as you can see, everything works well. We can just increase the spacing while scrolling. So let's try, for example, with 50. And let's now check. No, it should be less. So let's change it. Okay, now should be better. Yes, now it looks much better. I will apply the same for specification and overview as well. Another useful block that you may need is called content toggler. It can be used if you want to make a part of your text more compact and in order to open it up on button click. So we add a block, content toggler, this one, and then we'll add our text inside it, like this. So here we can also set a height of toggle. And there are many other options as well. But let's now move further to the specifications. So specifications might be different and they can have various design, and they depend on the field type that you're going to use. For example, in ACF plugin, there are a lot of field types, so let's now check the ones that most probably you're going to use. So there are two main field groups. The first one is basic one. This means that these fields have only one value. So for example, it can be a text. So you add a text, and this text is actually the value of the field. The same applies to a page link, or for example to a link. So what you enter is the value of the field. And there are fields with several values or nested values, for example checkbox or radio button. When you use such a field, the plugin stores values in nested data array. Apart from this, there are also different output options, and an example of this is file. It has its own link, but most probably you will want to make it as a button that will download this file and not just like a text. The same applies to Google Map. Most probably this field stores map coordinates, but you will want to display the whole map and not only the coordinates. In Greenshift plugin, there is a huge number of dynamic fields, and it supports both different input options and field values, as well as different field output options. Let's now look at this in more detail and with examples. So we will start with how to create such lists with an icon and text. So we can use here both text field and select field if you want, for example, to have some preset values. Radio button is also suitable for creating such a list. Now let's go back to ACF plugin and create two fields. So the first one will be text. We will call it garden view. Okay, and now the type of the second one will be select. And we will call it internet. So here we'll enter several values. Let's say, for example, Wi-Fi, cable, and no. In ACF plugin, there are several types of return format. Greenshift supports all of them. All depends on how you want to get these values. So, for example, you can get not only as values, but as label, or for example, both. We will use value for now. So let's now save the changes. Okay, so now we need to add our fields. And then we need to click on Update. So now the values have been saved and we can edit them in our template. In order to separate our content to two columns, we can use row block or, for example, CSS Grid of containers. This one. We have 3 columns by default, but we will remove one of them so that we have only 2. and we'll add the first field. So to do this, we will use metagetter block. So now we need to select the field, but first we need to select a post type. So we select booking. We'll use current latest source. Then we click on this icon and we select Garden View field. Okay, so here we have the value. This is the value that we have added here. And now we can add an icon as well. Okay, so let's now add a metagetter block to a second column. And then we will apply the same settings here. But now we will select Internet field. Here it is. And now you can see the difference between our type fields. So here you can notice that cable starts with a small letter, while when we added it here, we enter it starting with a capital letter. So this happens because when you save the data in ACF plugin as multiple values, this is stored in the data array and then in Greenshift plugin in metagetter block. So if the plugin doesn't receive a basic field or a straight field, it tries to get the first value, and as you can see, our first value here starts with a small letter. So if we go here, this is the key and not our field value. So in order for it to receive the field value, we need to know how it is stored, and also we need to know the key. But in this case, we will use a specific option, which is called ACF field. And here we have a specific option called ACF multi-value field. So when selecting it, as we can see, we get the value that we need. Alright, so let's now add an icon here. And now we can save the changes. Let's look at another example. So now I will show you how to do it so that you don't save a separate field for each value, but use some kind of preset selection. In order to do this, we need to use a field type which is called checkbox. It has several values that you can enable and disable. It is very similar to the way the tags work. So we go to the field group and we'll add a new field. So we select checkbox for type. Then we'll enter features for field label. The name is the same, and we will need to enter choices now. So once we are done with this, we save the changes, and then we'll add this field to our product. So as you can see, it works. So let's now make some choices. And now we will save the changes. Then we go to our template editor, and here we will add the field. So here we will use again metagetter. Here it is. And we will select booking for post type. Then we click on this icon and we will select features. So by default, the plugin got the values of all our keys. We can see them here. Then we go to ACF field and we click on ACF multi-value field. So now the plugin got the list of all our titles, and since it has an array of data, the values are separated by commas by default. But you can also convert these values into list, and to do this you need to select comma separator to list in add data format, the last one. This option has several additional options, so the first of them is to disable list dots. Here it is. So now we have disabled the formatting. We can add some margin as well. And here we have one additional panel, which is called List Columns. This option allows you to divide the list into several columns. So if we enable it, here we can choose the number of columns. Here we have other options as well. And in our case, we can also add an icon. So we click on Add Icon. And we can use this one, for example. Let's also change the color. And we get such a specification panel. The same way, you can divide by lists not only field values, but also taxonomy, for example, or tags, categories, and many others, including WooCommerce. Let's now look at another data type that you can use for your dynamic fields. For example, image block. So we'll add here a block which is called image, the blue one, and here we can enable dynamic image value. So the next field type is a video, and you can use both or embed and link as well. So let's now check how it works. So here we will add a video box. I have already added here a field type embed that contains a link. So here I will enable dynamic value. The type of the video is YouTube, and I will select booking for post type. Then I click on this icon and I will select video embed. And here it is. In order to get a field type editor, you can use a metagetter block. And then here in Add Data Format, there is a specific option formatting. So you can also use a post link, meaning that the value of your field will be a link for a post which contains your field. In order to get a date value, here we also have a date to WordPress date. this one. So the next field is file. Here it is. It's a link to a file as well as the name of the file. So if we go to the documentation, we can see that ACF plugin stores it into a data array that contains a link and a name of the file. So in order to get such a field, we click here on Add Field and then we select Field Type File. We'll enter File Upload for field label and the same for name. Then we save the changes. Then we click here on Add File. We select the file and then we save the changes. There are two ways to get the file field. So the first one is to use a button block that also has a dynamic link. Here it is. So we enable it. Then we select custom meta. We select again booking for post type. Then we click on this icon and select file upload. Now the link of our button will have an ID of our file, but it will be automatically converted to link to your file. So we save the changes. And let's now check how it works. So once we click on the button, we start downloading the file. The second way of getting a file field is to use a metagetter block. So again, we select booking for post type. Here. Then we select file upload here. Here it is. This time we'll use ACF field. And here we have a specific option, ACF file link field. And now we get a link. And the name of the file will be the title of our link. So if you wish, you can transform it to a button. So to do this, we go to Value Design, and here we have many design options. So for example, we can add a background here. Also, we can add some padding. Also, we can add a cover. And now we can add an icon. For example, this one. And let's change its color to white, like this. And this is the result. Let's look now at the next output options for our fields. So we will now create a field for review. To do this, we will go back to ACF and we will create the fields here. So we click on Add Field, and the first one will be number. We will store the values of our review in it. We enter score in field label, and the same for the name. The next one will be review title. Like this. And the next one will be review description. We'll also create 4 criteria. So we'll select a number for field type. Here it is. And then we'll add the name and label. Okay, so now we save the changes. And now we need to add some values. Alright, so here we'll add some random values. And now we'll save the changes. So we have already created our fields, and now we go to the template editor. So we'll add a flexbox here. And in the first column, we'll add a block which is called progress bar. Here it is. So here is how it looks by default. We'll use these 4 criteria, but there is also another type which is circle, and now we need to add some dynamic values. So the maximum value will be 10 because our reviews and criteria will be from 1 to 10. So we'll enter 10 here. Regarding the value, we'll enable dynamic value. Here we select post type booking. Then we click on this icon and we'll select score. Here it is. So as we can see, the value has been corrected. Let's now change the design a bit. So for example, we'll increase the size. And also let's make the background white. Like this. Now we'll add one more container to the second column in order to group the values. Here we'll add a metagetter block. Here it is. Then we select post type booking. And here we will select the review title. Then we'll increase the size. Like this, or even more. Next, we'll add one more meta-getter. So here we'll select again booking, this one, and then we'll select review description here. Here it is. And finally, we'll increase the margin for child items. Like this. In meta-getter, we can also add a clump. So for example, if our text contains 5 lines and we want to limit them to 3, we can just enable text clump here and then select 3. Now it doesn't matter how long the review will be, it will always be limited to 3 lines. Now let's add some more criteria for our values. To do this, we will use a progress bar again. We'll title it Criteria 1. The maximum value will be 10. Then we click on Enable Dynamic Value. Then we select Booking for post type. And here we'll select Criteria 1. So now, as you can see, the progress bar works correctly. And now we can just duplicate it. We'll just rename it to Criteria 2. Like this. And we do the same for the next 2 criteria. And here is the result. It is very convenient for websites if you want to use a review. So let's now save the changes. Let's now look at one more field type, which is map. You can find it on Airbnb website as well. So there is a specific block which is called map. But first we need to add one more section. So we add a row. This one. And then we'll add advanced heading block. And let's title it map location. Okay, so we save the changes and we will now create a new field, which will be a map. Here it is, Google Map. Then we'll add field label map and we'll save the changes. Here we'll enter the location. Then we need to click on Update in order to save the changes. And now we need to add a block which is called Map. So here we will add it. This one. And then we need to add at least one marker. So to do this, we need to click on this icon. And here we can enable dynamic map position. Then we select booking for post type. Here we will select map. And as we can see, the data has been updated. And now we can save the location. If you want, you can add a title as well and a description. And you can also enable Use Custom Pin Drop icon. And the last field that we are going to talk about today is a repeater field. So this is a group of fields that you can repeat in your posts. So for example, on the Airbnb website, we have such a group of fields. So these are the types of accommodation that this hotel offers. Sometimes this can be only one type, or for example, two types, and so on. So we need a group of fields that we can add unlimited times. So to do this, in ACF plugin, there is a field which is called repeater, and we will now add it. And now we can add the fields that we want to add to this group. So for example, we'll add an image. Then we'll add a price. The field type here will be just text. This one. And the third one will be title. And the field type here will be text again. Okay, so we save the changes. And now we'll add the group of fields to our record. So as we can see, it is displayed as a table. So let's now choose an image. For example, this one. Then we'll enter the price and the title. And here we will add one more. And we click on Save the changes. Then we go back to the template editor, and now we'll add here a block which is called Repeater Builder. Now we need to select the field where the repeater data is stored. So we select post type booking. Here we select offers. This one. Repeater builder settings are very similar to query loop builder settings. Here we have the same options. The only difference is that here you need to select a field and not the selection of your posts. So once you have selected the field, the data in the block will be updated, and now we can click on Edit here, and we can select the subfields that we need for these values. So, for example, I will select here Offer Title, and as you can see, the data is being updated. And here I will select Offer Image. I will add here a price as well. I will use MetaGetter again. In fact, in most of the dynamic fields, it works simultaneously as a selection in the context of editing a template and in a context of a repeater builder. So if you add it to repeater builder, you will have repeater option available here. So you can select it, and if you have correctly specified your field and if the data has been updated, you will get here a list of your subfields here. If we go back to Field Editor and if we look at the field repeater, we can see that we have 5 fields here. And the same fields will be displayed here as well. So you can select here a subfield and add it to each dynamic block of the repeater builder. But not all the dynamic fields support a repeater builder, but the main ones that you will most probably use, like dynamic image, dynamic title, and MetaGetter blocks, work here. So here we can also add some design. For example, we can select a cover. Let's say this one. Then we click on Done. And as we can see, everything is displayed the correct way. So we save the changes. And let's now check how it looks on the website. So as we can see, everything works well. And the last thing, I will now show you how to add similar posts to our product. So to do this, we will use a block that we have already talked about in this video, and it is Query Builder. So let's add it. We will make it so that only 4 items are displayed. So we go to Data Settings, and here in Data Query, we need to select a specific option that is called Related Items by Taxonomy. This one. And here we just need to select the taxonomy based on which our items will be displayed. And also we need to select post type, which should be booking. Here we select booking categories. Here it is. Next, we just need to add these fields that we want to be displayed in this template. And set it the way we talked before in this video. And then we click on Done. This is all for today. See you in our next video.